Welcome to news at bolivartech.com. You are invited to subscribe my channel, and your comments are appreciated. Encryption is foundational to the future, the begin of the technological age. The First World War showed the importance of cryptography on the battlefield, and the danger of weak encryption. The Second World War became a defining moment in the history of cryptography and placed it squarely at the center of military and political strategy from that time to the present day. The Enigma machine was developed by a German Arthur Scherbius in 1918 and was patented in 1919. It was marketed with portability and confidentiality as its sales features, but it had a lack of commercial success. When Germany discovered that they had lost World War I as a result of their cipher having been cracked by the British, despite the high cost, the machine was adopted by the German Navy in 1926, the Army in 1928 and the Air Force in 1935. Also, it was introduced into service with other sections of the German government. The Enigma was an offline cipher system which was designed to provide high-grade cipher text from the input of plaintext and the reverse. The ciphering method used by Enigma is known as a polyalphabetic substitution cipher, and the key consists of a combination of gear wheels, rotors, known as a scrambler, on each of which 26 letters of the modern alphabet are inscribed, and a mechanism known as the plug board for performing single character substitutions. Enigma is used by first setting the scrambler and then typing the unencrypted text on the keyboard. The ciphered letters, encrypted by the scrambler, are displayed on a lamp board, and this letter was transcribed on a message pad. A single scale is rotated by the scrambler each time a character is typed, which means that a different key is used to cipher every single character. The procedure repeated until the message was complete, and the ciphertext message was then transmitted by radio using Morse code. Enigma decodes encrypted messages when the same key that was used to prepare the ciphered message is used to decrypt it, and following the same procedure the ciphertext is typed letter by letter and the plaintext equivalent is displayed on the lamp board. The Enigma was, in terms of its internal architecture, a swapping machine, and, as such, two machines with equal configuration would give the same result, for example, X to get C or C to get X. This meant that once the configuration or key was found, all messages using that could be decrypted. There was no internal dynamic update of the key based on the message traffic or any other variable. In addition, keying X would never give X, and this latter weakness was used to great effect when applied to known text that provide clues to breaking a ciphertext containing, for example, expressions such as Dear Sir, or Heil Hitler. Japanese Naval Code JN25 was a secret key substitution cipher where the ciphertext words appears as a number. The ciphertext is generated by two other code groups. The first one assigned to the word a constant hard mapping of a unique 5 decimal digit numbers. The second code group for a word consists of an additive book of code groups, determined by an indicator in the ciphertext, and added to the word's own code group by no-carry addition. To encode the message "I eat apples and choose the indicator for" is transformed as show. Then the transmitted cipher message is 431,080,275,621,663. In order to recover the message, only is necessary to calculate the subtraction between the ciphertext and the corresponding additive group. During World War II, the U.S. Navy developed a cipher machine, the Electronic Code Machine, ECM, Mark II, also known as CIGABA. The ECM Mark II had its roots in the AM-134, a cipher machine designed by William Friedman before the war, and in fact the CIGABA was also known as the AM-134C. The original M134 was conceptually similar to the Enigma in that it used a rotor system to scramble letters, but it differed in that it had 5 rotors, not 3, and in that the rotors advanced in a seemingly random fashion, not in a nice neat progression with each character entered. The movement of the rotors was controlled by a paper tape, which was a long strip of paper with holes punched across its width. In this case, the paper tape would accommodate 5 holes across its width, with a hole punched mean that the corresponding rotor must to advance. If no hole was punched, the rotor would not advance. Which hole controlled which rotor was determined by a plug board with 5 plugs. Given a long and properly devised paper tape, the sequence of rotor movements could be difficult to reverse engineer. However, the paper tape produced operational issues, and Frank Rowlett used a separate set of rotors to generate the unpredictable sequence of rotor movements. Friedman and Rowlett implemented this idea with a device called the M229, which was connected to the M134 in place of the paper tape system. The M229 had 3 rotors of its own and a switch to vary its operation, and its output controlled the movement of the 5 rotors of the M134. Finally, the ECM Mark II used all these improvements and included a total of 15 rotors. 5 of these rotors were normal cipher rotors with 26 connections, and they stepped in an irregular fashion. 5 of the rotors were known as control rotors, and had 26 contacts like the cipher rotors, while the remaining 5 rotors, the index rotors, had 10 contacts each. These 2 sets of rotors controlled the stepping sequence of the cipher rotors. The Soviet archives relating to signals intelligence are closed, and information on cryptography is hard to find and verify, both during the Tsarist era and in the Soviet period. Anatoly Kolpov, a professional in the field of communications security, has published Encryptors and Radio Intelligence. Shield and Sword of Information World. Although the book was written for a Russian audience, the author has published an interesting summary in English at aklepov.com, and based on it we know before the war in 1941 top secret information was encrypted with paper encryption documents, and what was the way the USSR produced encryption keys before 1941. They used special devices to generate keys to encryption equipment and one-time pads. The devices resembled modern bingo game machine. The machine featured 2 units running punch tape. Balls randomly touched the punch tapes, generating balanced gamma random number sequence that was used to generate encryption key. The strength of such encryption keys was miserable. Historic cryptography images courtesy of cryptomuseum.com. Thanks for watch the video, and you are invited to subscribe my channel. Your comments are appreciated to help me to know the topics that you want to watch. More interesting contents available at news.bolivartech.com, and follow me at my social networks.